Good evening, everyone. Well, you made it to Monday, June 19th, 2023. And the first thing I want to do is welcome you in wherever you're getting this, whenever you're getting this. You might be getting this live. If you are, drop us a line and say hello. If you're on your own reset journey, maybe you're going through your own little personal reinvention here. You've been tuning in week in and week out, hearing the stories. Check in, say hello, let us know how you're doing. And you're free to also type in where you're listening from in the world. Also, we want to welcome in our podcast audience who might be getting this on the playback. We want to give them some love too. We got great stories. We're going to be talking about the hero. We're going to be talking about publishing. We're going to be talking about health and so much more, all things that are relevant to your own personal reset. Have you been thinking about this? Have you been thinking, we mentioned this on the other show, there's that thing that's kind of in the corner. And you typically say something like, I got to fill in the blank. I need to fill in the blank. And maybe it's health, maybe it's personal, maybe it's financial, whatever it is. And we want this to be that reset for you. And we do that by sharing stories. And I know today is going to be an exceptional show. You're going to get a lot of insight today. You may want to take some notes. Or if you feel like, you know what, I just want to listen. I just want to immerse myself into this because you're going to hear those stories. So I want to welcome you in, and I want to welcome in my beautiful co-host, Dr. Andrea Adams-Miller from the Red Carpet Connection.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Andrea, I know you've been doing some prep for the show. What are you thinking, feeling about today's show, or just even in this moment?
Well, every week you bring something new to the table that really aligns with what you've been talking about all along. So it's just really fun. It's like a big life puzzle piece, and every week it just gets bigger and better.
It does. And it's the stories, it's the people that we bring on. And we'll kind of set this up. I want to grab this quote that jumped out at me as I was preparing for this. Nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I'm possible. That's a quote by Audrey Hepburn. And that came off of our second guest's website, Miss LS Kirkpatrick, who you're going to hear from in the second segment of the show. So you want to stay tuned for that. Getting your story out if you're an entrepreneur, if you're looking to get more exposure, you have a story inside. LS Kirkpatrick has a unique way of getting the story out of people, entrepreneurs, crafting them, putting them together. Matter of fact, she did a live feed today talking about that. So stay tuned for that. But let's jump into our first guest. I'm excited about the first guest here because there's a history behind this. And if you've ever heard of the hero's journey, this is going to speak to you. You may be thinking, hero, I'm trying to get through the day. What are you talking about, hero? But this guest is going to give you some insight that, and actually Anthony, who you're going to hear from, has immersed himself in this space. He's been blogging relentlessly, consistently over the years. He's immersed himself to learn this concept of the hero. What does it really mean? I think for me, like when I first heard it, just to be full transparent, I'm like, hero, like who am I? I'm not a hero. That's a mythological, that's mythology. That has nothing to do with today. But during today's show, you're not only going to learn more about it, but you're going to hear how relevant it is and how relevant it can be for you. So Anthony Simeone is the creator of Heroic Principles. You're gonna learn a lot about that. But Anthony and I go all the way back to Toastmasters. We both worked at a local club here, going through the criteria. Actually, we helped run the club at one point. Anthony has a rich history in reading, writing, speaking, blogging, educating himself in this particular space. I know you're going to love this. So help me welcome our first guest, Mr. Anthony Simeone.
Hey,
Anthony.
What's up? How you guys doing?
Good. How'd I do? Going back to the Toastmasters days, are you counting my uhs and ums back there?
I didn't see any. I didn't pick any up. I didn't hear any yahs and ums. So I think you're doing good. Yeah, it's been a while since we've been out of the club, but yeah. So yeah, but it's the Toastmasters was something where we had connected. So it was a really, it's really good to connect with you again. We haven't been in those halls for a while. So good to be here. Good to see you. And it's good to meet Andrea as well.
Thank you so much. It's this has been a long time coming, I feel like, because we've talked, you've been on your journey, and you've sharpened what you're doing, you've learned more, and I'm eager to hear what you have to share tonight with Heroic Principles. But before I do, I always want to give Dr. Andrea a moment, because she gets to meet you here for the first time, and we get to do something in the moment as we co-create. So Dr. Andrea, what do you think and feeling as you meet Anthony here?
Well, as anytime anybody's talking about anything heroic, that gets people's ears perked up. They want to hear, they want to know, they get excited about who's the hero, how can they be a hero, what does that mean, what are the principles, what can they take from it, how can they learn and grow. So this will be quite, I think, a lovely time for us, for our audience to pick up some things that they can take and experience for their own lives.
Thank you so much. Let's jump right in. Anthony, what brought you to this place where you decided, this is my path, this is where I'm going to immerse myself, this is where I'm going to spend my time? Because I want to share real quick, I mentioned this in the bio, but you're also a dad and a husband, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I have a full-time sort of daily life in corporate America, wife, kids, 2 dogs, house, mortgage, the whole bit. But so really, when I left college, I sort of left behind the humanities, and I left behind my interest in great mythology and the hero's journey, sort of for that corporate America path. But then as I've gotten older, and as we get older, we want purpose. We want to know, we want to establish what our legacy is. And there's something I want to bring up for everyone. And you touched on this when you gave the intro about who am I to be a hero. But really, I want to allay everyone's fears that's listening. You don't have to consider yourself a hero. The term hero is something for other people to ascribe to others. What I want to do in my work with people, and what I've studied and what I've researched is, there's 2 types of heroism, really 2 major types of heroism. There's that crisis moment heroism that we all think about. And that's what I think you were thinking about. You're running into a burning building, you're running into a dangerous situation. That's a crisis heroic moment. But what I discovered in going back and revisiting my studies and my training in the humanities and tapping back into heroic myth through primarily the work of Joseph Campbell and the monomyth, was that there's another side of heroism that the ancients, our ancestors, really wanted heroism and taught heroism as an everyday mindset. Heroism was an everyday mindset. Heroism was the original personal development program, really.
Wow.
Because heroism is not just about the self and developing the self. Heroism shows us the truth about the connection between human beings. So other help, to help others, is self-help. Those 2 things are inextricably linked, and that's what our ancestors knew, and that's why mythology was developed. That's why mythology came about, because you can look at science today, lots of studies today that are seeing the correlation and the connections between relationships with other people and the health benefits, mental, physical, and emotional health benefits. I think it was the Framingham Heart Study. It was a multi-generational study for cardiac problems. They were studying heart disease and cardiac issues over generations. But what they found out incidentally through that study was a scientific, empirically based study, was that relationship building is a huge part of mental, physical, and emotional health. Wow. and heart health. So I'm also a practitioner of positive psychology. So I have a certification in positive psychology as well. And there's a lot of parallels between, the virtues of what we look for in heroes and positive psychology, and really this other side of heroism, which is social heroism, which is everyday heroism. And there's a whole field of science now that PhDs in psychology in universities across the country are developing a heroism science. And I actually just contributed to a book that's coming out. An encyclopedia of heroism studies is coming out within the next year that I contribute to, about overcoming adversity. I contributed an entry about overcoming adversity. So that's really what heroism, that I feel like I'm trying to bring heroism back to this ancient state, this consciousness and everyday consciousness where we take it out of just the bubble and the stereotype of someone running into a burning building, an EMT running into a crisis situation, a police officer, a soldier. That is heroism, and that's heroism writ large. That's crisis, physical danger heroism. That's heroism, and I'm not taking away from that. But what our ancient ancestors developed through mythology, and we're still telling ourselves myth today. We still tell mythic stories today. Look at all the Marvel movies. Look at all the superhero movies that are so popular.
Yeah,
and
true.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's the hero's journey is so played out. The heroes." But again, it's not about calling yourself a hero. It's cultivating the virtues, and it's cultivating what's good and what's the best of humanity in us. That's what heroism really is. And it's the inextricable, again, I want to take it back to the inextricable connection between other help and self-help. And any program that you get in today that's just about self-help, I think misses the point of other help is self-help, because of that intrinsic connection between human beings and the health benefits of that.
Yeah, I want to jump in for a moment, because one of the things that you mentioned is you really want to work with men and help them to develop the heroic mindset. Yesterday was Father's Day. You're not the only dad, right? And sometimes in the male role, men can take a back seat. They don't feel like heroes. They're trying to survive and take care of their family. And they how do you work with men to say, hey, you can develop this heroic mindset?
Yeah.
And you don't have to run into a burning building. You can take it to the office in the morning. You can take it to your children, your wife, your family. What would you say about that?
Yeah, it's that interpersonal social heroism. It can be heroism. The definition of heroism is altruistic risk. When you are taking something of yourself, your time, your energy, even funds, when you're giving something of yourself, when you're laying something out on the line, when you're sacrificing something, even on the smallest level, for your friends, your family, a stranger, that really is the definition of heroism. It's altruistic risk for others. But as far as men are concerned, I really am concerned about some of the ideologies and the dogmas that men are being fed. I was fed as a kid a lot of machismo, what I call the teachings of the cult of machismo. My dad was very much into, my dad, it really is a cult, and it's this unspoken man box. People may have heard of the term man box, to be put in these narrow sets of expectations of what it means to be a man. Don't ask for help, limit your emotions,
right?
Don't connect with other people. You're an island, you're a loner, right. That is just based off of what I talked about earlier. Is it any wonder that men have cardiac issues above and beyond women?
Right.
Because we limit that pathway of health by connecting with other people, because we're taught to compete with men specifically.
Yes.
And, so there's a lot of purveyors of, I won't name names, but I think probably popped the mind of, men's rights movements and all these other things where it's, man has to be a certain set of ways and he can't be anything else. But really what I teach men is be your own man. Whatever your definition of being a man is, you be it. You be that man. And what I want to teach men to be is heroic men, where they take these ideals, of heroism, the heroic ideal. Again, don't worry about calling yourself a hero. No one may ever call you a hero in your life, and definitely don't call yourself that. That's what I'm not teaching people. It's more along the lines of how can we take and distill what heroic myth teaches us and has taught us, and what the heroic virtues are from heroic myth, and apply that to everyday life. But
I'm going to say maybe you wake up one day and, based on your definition, and what you're trying to do, they are a hero. Because I want to throw this out there. I think it's a great place to put this. Imagine if you were free and you didn't know it. Mm-hmm. Imagine if you were free to do whatever you wanted, but you didn't know you were free. Imagine if you were a hero and you didn't know it. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is to honor today's Juneteenth, right? Today's Juneteenth. So there were people that were free, but they didn't know they were free. It was like a couple years, I believe, right? Where they had to find out. So in your work, so we want to honor Juneteenth today. And also in your work that you're doing, there's men out there that may have this element of the heroic mindset that Anthony, you're describing, but they just don't know it yet. And that's like, wow, like that's why, I got chills. I'm thinking about it because when they find out about what you're doing and they get the ability to kind of redefine themselves, or rather look at themselves in a different way and develop this mindset that you're talking about, I think it's a game changer, Anthony. And I think the way you're positioning it is so great, so that we can get out of these old ideologies that are causing men to have, health problems and cardiac issues. And of course it affects the women in our lives too.
Yeah, it affects our health, our physical, mental, and emotional health. I think the first barrier that men have to break, really if I have to codify, what I'm working towards is codifying, my research into heroism, into a set of principles. I'm still kind of fleshing things out. So I'm still on that journey. But the first principle that is non-negotiable is other people matter. You need to connect with other people. And that is one of the things that men in our civilization are not taught to do well at all. They don't connect to themselves easily. They don't connect to others easily. So if you can't connect to your true self and explore yourself, because that's not manly. If you can't dig down and look at your shadow and look at the dark parts of yourself, forgive yourself for your past faults, let go of regret, and release that. If you can't do that for yourself, you're never going to connect with other people properly. And and connecting with other people, especially other men, we are taught from the cradle that most of us are taught. I know I was. Many of us are taught that other men are competition for treating women as objects, and we're competing for women. And that's the wrong mindset. I know my dad just had a whole negative aspect towards women, which I rejected. But my brother bought into. I have an older brother. So we're like day and night, where he bought into the man cult rhetoric, and where I escaped it just because, I led with my heart, and I received a lot of abuse for it, emotionally, mentally, physically, from my family, because I was not going to go down that man path, that stereotypical path of a man. But it came at a price. But now, going back to the hero's journey and using that cycle of the hero's journey as sort of a talisman for myself, that really helped. And using that as a mindfulness tool, and just going through the aspects and the principles of heroism, really helped me. And I want to give that to other people. And I mean, and just to touch on Juneteenth, I mean, talk about, an entire group of people in this country, Black Americans having to every day, every day is an adversity in a culture that is working against you, for hundreds of years, in a culture that is working against you every day. It's a burden that I've never had to experience, so, anyone who is not in that culture in the United States, we don't have that burden. We have that privilege to not have that. So that in and of itself, speaking of everyday heroism, just the heroism to have to push against a society that is surreptitiously, in hidden ways, in insidious hidden ways, pushing down on you and restricting you with gerrymandering, and just all the, Jim Crow laws, and just all of that. I can't imagine what that has been like. Yeah. So that is a heroism, as far as I'm concerned, that in our culture is a heroic thing.
You went there. That's great. I thought you were going to say that, but I want to pause. I want to give Dr. Andrea a moment to just chime in from her perspective, a woman's perspective too. And I know she's got something there.
Yeah. So in hearing what you said and doing a little bit of research on you, I love the idea that you've taken people from the definition of hero as one person, one thing that, is risking life and death, and made it into a way of being, that a real hero is a person who, is treats others well, and lives in a world where they understand that there's uncertainty, and there's, that to be able to be flexible and adaptable, and to manage things well, and to have confidence, and yet do the right thing when it's necessary, and even when it's not necessary. And those, taking it from, I guess, a noun to a verb, a hero as a way you behave rather than an action that's done.
Yeah, it's not just it's a way of life. It's a mindset. It's a way of life, and it really is something that we've lost as we've pigeonholed the idea of heroism as just something that you see on the 5 o'clock news or 11 o'clock news at night, where person runs into burning building, saves family, and then they're dubbed a hero by society, and then they just kind of fade away. And it's we need repeat offenders, for lack of a better term. We need repeat heroes, I guess is a better term. We need people to realize that everything from stereotypical Boy Scout helping an old lady across the street, that old stereotype, to standing up for people who are underprivileged or underrepresented in society, being an ally to people that are in at-risk groups or minority groups in this country, as someone who may not have those restrictions. To be an ally for another person or a group of people is heroism as well. It's not just the physical, putting yourself in harm's way, physical danger, jumping in front of a bullet. It's social heroism, and so suffering consequences potentially for allyship and for helping other people potentially.
Yeah. It's like you're redefining the way the world collectively understands hero.
I hope so. I mean, there's a lot of us, and I have found my people. There definitely are more people. When I first started out, I felt very lonely. But, there's lots of researchers, like I said, at universities, a lot of psychologists, social scientists. There's a group called the Hero Roundtable. If I can give them a shout out, that it's a great group of people that I've connected with, and people from all different disciplines, all walks of life. Like, myself, I consider myself a layman scholar. You know what I mean? I don't have a lot of I don't have a PhD or whatever, but I've done a lot of research, I've done a lot of studying, I've done a lot of work and soul searching, and pulled together what I've read and what I've researched, and I'm trying to disseminate that, get the word out, and keep it going, keep it growing.
So just for time, what's next? Like, what's on your agenda now? I know you're in the process. You've gone through a couple iterations. You've learned more. You just keep growing in the space. And you created Heroic Principles.
Yeah, I used to have a site called Live the Hero. So my program, or my philosophy, it's not really a program. It's more of a life philosophy. It's more of a life philosophy. Like I said, it was called Live the Hero. That from knowing me back in the day from Toastmasters, I would talk about Live the Hero and develop my speeches about that. But now I'm rebranding to Heroic Principles, and kind of tapping into the concept of first principles. Sort of like philosophy, first principles. So I was like, well, the way I'm seeing heroism is like a philosophy. It's not just an action. It is, it is a philosophy. And so I'm regrouping, relaunching my website as Heroic Principles. And I'm working on starting a podcast. I've been blogging a lot. I've been blogging for years. I'm a writer by my first love is writing. I'm a writer by trade, but then I got into speaking. And really now I feel like it's just more accessible for people to listen to a podcast. So I'm imagining people driving or working out or walking the dog, just doing something and listening to a podcast versus, finding time to read, which is getting so hard all the time, harder and harder. And younger generations are more, who I'm also trying to reach, are also more in tune with listening and taking in video and other media. So that's where I'm kind of heading next, is a relaunch of my site, rebrand, and, launching a podcast. So,
so if you're matter of fact, for our podcast audience, it's heroicprinciples.com. It's going to be available. Anthony, do you have a date? You can go there now. You can bookmark the website now, and Anthony will have that up and running. You have a date roughly?
A date, Don't at this point. I mean, I would love to. I would say maybe within the next 2 months, maybe by late summer at the most, maybe September.
You can go to your LinkedIn as well.
You can go to my LinkedIn. You can go to my LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. You can go to my, I'm on Facebook. You still may find me under Live the Hero. Again, I'm trying to do this, and I loathe the term side hustle. Really, I don't want to call it a side hustle, but I have that day job. I have the family and everything. So it's like, it's the heroic hustle. I like that. That's great. That's awesome. I love that. I'm going to steal that.
No, go ahead. Please.
But
the other thing that was coming to my mind was the daily hero, like where you get to, somebody gets to listen daily about the principles that you have. So.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, and if anyone wants to reach me right now, I mean, you can look me up on Facebook. You can look me up at Anthony Simeone. You'll find you'll probably find my site there, my page there.
Yeah. And lots of blogs. There's lots of blogs you put up.
You can search me on the Good Men Project. I was writing for a column called The Heroic Man for a long time. Occasionally I still contribute to that. The Heroic Man at the Good Men Project. If anyone wants to get in touch with me, they can email me at anthony@heroicprinciples.com. You can email me there. But once I get the site up and running again, I'll definitely, put the call out. I definitely put the call out. Yeah, I would love to come back. So for sure.
All right. Well, listen, we're going to transition, but Anthony, I want you to stay on because we're going to share a quick video about what we're working on with Midlife Oasis. And the Midlife Oasis is all about that call. When you hit midlife and we say, when what seems like the end, what you thought was the end, is in fact a glorious new beginning. And I want to put some light on that. And that's heroic in and of itself.
The call to adventure. Yeah, the call to adventure.
The call to adventure. There you go. And so that's because sometimes we've lived in a certain way and we're like, wait, I want to reinvent. Where do I go? Well, you could, the hero's journey, what Anthony's talking about is relevant. But we're going to give you a great opportunity here. So I'm going to share that. When we come back, we're going to have LS Kirkpatrick on, and you're going to hear about her exciting new book, her time as a publisher, what she's doing in the world. And I just love when people in the midlife, whatever you want to call it, in that section, when we can reinvent and we can align ourselves with what really matters, what that purpose is. So let's take a look at this. And then we'll come back and we'll have LS with us as we bring her on. So, all right, here we go. Power of technology. We are excited. I was in Costa Rica in January, and I've heard about this term, Pura Vida. If you've never heard it, it stands for pure life or pure living. It sounds like a nice catchphrase, but when you're there, it's ethereal. You're in a different world, and the whole energy of the place, the vibe, if you will, it's a popular term today, but it's real. And it just being there, it will change your life. But we're going to go there with a group of people, March 2nd to March 10th of 2024. Embark on your midlife oasis. Discover your purpose. Live life fully now. You can reset your life, but like Anthony talked about, it's about connection. So we want to invite you to learn more. You can go to my website, austinhaines.com. We can talk about that. I'll share that again in the show. And if you're listening on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, you'll be getting this on the playback. You can go to the website, austinhaines.com, or the YouTube. You can follow there on YouTube at Austin J Haines. We invite you to follow along. All the shows are up there. We'd love to have you be a part of our live audience as we're streaming live right now. Dr. Andrea, I think we're off to a great start. We're pretty much on time, I would say. And our next guest, I actually saw her dancing in the background there into the music as we were playing the music. So I know she's ready, but this is somebody we mutually know, love, and respect. And this is another thing that's been in the works. So I am going to allow you the honors, if you will, to introduce our next guest.
Sure. LS Kirkpatrick. She's not only a friend of ours, she's a wonderful writing coach, a legacy author, and an author of fiction for children and teens, which many ages enjoy because they love reflecting back as well. She's also a wife, a mother of 4, and a grandmother of 15. And she's a farmer and a rancher, has multiple degrees and certifications. And she spent 30 years researching genealogy for many families, plus the Daughters of Revolution Patriots. She's the author of 5 legacy books, 5 published books, and in 5 collaborative book projects. In fact, I think there's more than that already that might not be updated, but she's just a lovely person to talk to and is always really interested in helping people reflect their best story because she believes that you need to be seen and heard.
Let's bring her on. LS, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you.
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, yes, I do need to update my bio. It's actually been almost 50 years. And I have 11 books out now. Anthony, what you said was just amazing. You know, part of how I was raised, that was how I was raised. You just take care of each other. You do things for each other. And I'm listening to you and it's like, wasn't everybody raised that way? And I'm finding out, no.
Unfortunately,
no, they really weren't. But yeah, I used to be an EMT, firefighter, all of that. You know, you just help people.
Yeah.
I am to the core.
So LS, before we transition Anthony out, and Anthony, you're free to stay. We could bring you back on at the end if your time schedule allows.
Sure.
Was there something that jumped out at you that Anthony shared?
Yes, I wrote it down. I like what he said about heroic is a call to adventure, and that it's an everyday mindset.
I love that.
I'll give you a little hint. I have Post-it notes. I have bigger cards, and I also have a paper. Every time I'm in a meeting, I have these with me. I use these to write down quotes from people, these to put more information that a little Post-it note won't have. And the big white paper is so I remember who this person is, how I met this person, and what they talked about, just to try and get a little organized, something I've learned over the last year.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. So, Anthony, I'd love to have you back on toward the end. Hang in there. We're so glad you were with us. So we'll see you in a few. LS, I just wanted to say, you know, what struck me about when Dr. Andrea was introducing you, I feel like everything that you've been working on, you're living in that you have already created an incredible legacy. And I love you and I had talked about the project that you're working on. And we had talked privately about, you know, by the way, we're all aging. Does anybody realize that each minute time's going by? But the thing is, and I have a friend, John, who's going to be 98 actually in July.
Awesome.
And all this knowledge and information. So we have all this experience. We have all these youngsters growing up, right? and there's information everywhere, but it's the experience that you can never replace. And you're doing that through your works. Like you're not just dumping information, you're capturing the experience of people's lives so that it gets handed down. But I just wanted to share with you before we get into your story here, I think you are living that. You already have an incredible legacy based on the work that you've already accomplished. So I just want to congratulate you and say kudos to
Thank
you.
you. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
my legacy really is my grandkids. It's not so much the work that I do or anything like that, but it's raising them to know the good that's in the world, and they are the good that's in the world. You know, everybody is. The one thing that I talk about when I do my speaking is you have great value in you. You are worthy and you are enough. And the great value in you never goes away. Nobody else has ever lived the life you lived. They haven't gone through the choices you've made, the choices others have made that have affected you, and nobody ever will. So each person is so unique that
So
only
cool.
person has a way to give to the world, and
That's so
everybody has something to give.
It's so true. Thank you for that. And somebody needed to hear that, and you need to hear it. Like you're a miracle. You may not feel like a miracle. You may not feel like a hero, but there's a part of you that is, and you're echoing the same thing. And I think there's people that are starving for that message, and they may not
Yeah.
accept it, but we're gonna keep working on. We're gonna keep working at it, aren't we?
Definitely. Yeah, in the book I'm putting together right now, I'm actually in 7 anthology books, but the one that I'm in charge of, I have a couple of poems I just wrote that came from Memorial Weekend when I was up at I'm sorry, my brain just decides to take a
It's
quick
okay.
break.
Take your time.
Arlington Cemetery.
Oh,
And something, it started because in the time of the Civil War, my great great grandfather was in the Civil War. I have
wow.
a little piece in there about that. And the one thing that I did right was that if my grandfather would not have survived Andersonville prison, my great great grandfather, then my grandfather would not have been here. Oh, it's only one great. My grandfather would not have been here. My mother wouldn't have been here, and I wouldn't be here because my grandfather was an only child um, with his wife. But so it really helps you capture that anything can happen that's going to change and affect the future. And you don't know what that is. It's really kind of a sobering thought. Not that I want to bring anybody down or anything, but
No, it's real.
for
It's real.
me, it helps you appreciate more of who you are and what you have and what you're doing right now.
You
But
know what? It's all
go
good.
ahead.
Listen, I've done videos at the cemetery. People think I'm crazy, but I just did one Sunday, and I walked by gravestones that are in the 1800s.
Mhm.
Why would you do that? Because it reminds me that I'm alive. Like it's actually,
Yeah.
to me, it's a celebratory thing because I can get up, I can do things, I can celebrate or honor people who've passed and go
Yeah,
and live life. That's what we're here to do. So you're
that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting you say that because while I was at Arlington Cemetery, I said, so why do we remember? What's the purpose? And one gentleman there said, so that they don't die twice, once on the battlefield and then again in our at home. And it's like I just got chills from that.
me too.
But it's true. When we had a family reunion probably about 15 years ago, and we hadn't had one for a long time. I mean, it was a lot of years. And so I had pictures up of my grandfather and my grandmother, and then I had ones of all the aunts and uncles, which I realized, to me, they're still fresh in my memory. They're right here beside me. All the things that they taught me, it's still fresh in my mind. But
Yeah.
here were these kids that was my grandkids' age asking, who are these people? Well, my grandkids knew because I told them about them. I'm the storyteller in my family, and they were important to me. And the lessons I learned that I'm handing down to them came from these people. And it just about broke my heart that they didn't know who these two people were. Loving, wonderful. In fact, when my grandmother passed away, the first funeral I'd ever been to, there were so many people. The church was literally wall to wall people, and outside was the same number of people again. And I didn't know who all these people were. I was young, and I thought, I was kind of angry because why are all these people here for my grandma? And
Wow.
it's like, well, because she had a wonderful life. They both loved
Let
people. My grandfather used to say, I've never met a stranger, only a friend I haven't met before. And
That's
I grew up
beautiful.
with that. I
So
didn't
say
know
that
that
one more
was
time,
something
and
that
then
ever
we got to. I
existed.
want to get people to learn what you do, because I want them to learn
Okay.
that. What
All
did you
right.
say that one more time? I never met a stranger. That's beautiful.
Yep. I've never met a stranger, only a friend I haven't known before. And
Wow.
somebody said, what does that even mean? It means that nobody is a stranger to you. Maybe you've never met them, but you meet them, you get to know them. They're going to be your friend. They're going to be your neighbor.
So
You
true.
treat your neighbors like you want to be treated. You treat everybody the way you want to be treated. We're talking about Juneteenth right now. I didn't grow up with the prejudices that were there. I didn't even know that world existed. I mean, I'd seen things on TV, and I thought it was just like, I just didn't know how deep it went. And I didn't know all of the mindset behind it. It's been a real eye opener for me. And, I love
Yeah.
being down here in Texas because I love all of the different unique people that are here. It's just, I love it. I'm just
great.
in my element here.
It's great. So what do you want people to know about what you do? And then I want to hear from Dr. Andrea, because she's been listening. I know she always has some great insights to pick up
Yes,
based
she
on what you
does.
shared. So what do you want people to know about what you're working on now? And
I'll tell you about the big thing. We just finished up the chain breaking experience. I was not the main author on it. I wrote one chapter in it. It's actually devotional. That was great. But these are my babies, the Giving Book, Volume 1, Volume 2, and now we're coming out with Volume 3. I have 27 contributors who put something in it, and it's everything from poetry to laughter to stories to memoirs to photos to artwork to anime to recipes. I mean, there's just a whole variety of life. Just, variety is the spice of life. People
that's
are
so great.
spicy, and I love it.
Yeah. And I want to thank you for honoring me for
Oh, I
putting
love it.
the jump poem in there, because I'm really excited for that to be in your book. And thank you for that.
Oh, definitely. Thank you for letting me put it in the book. I loved it when I read it. It's like, oh, I need this in the book.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's getting out there, and thank you for doing that. So we're going to be transitioning here. I just want to go to Dr. Andrea, and I want to put your website up for those of you that are on the podcast. It's lskirkpatrick.com, just like it sounds.
Right.
Famous Irish name, kirkpatrick.com. LS Kirkpatrick.
Actually, Scottish.
Is it Scottish? I'm Scotch Irish, so that's how it
Yeah,
goes.
isn't everybody? I mean, if you go to Scottish and Irish history, we're all Scotch Irish. There's no way to get away
Somewhere
from
along
it.
the line. There you go. So okay. All right. So Dr. Andrea, before we transition, what do you want to pull out here, highlight that you've heard? There's a lot of great things here. I just legacy keeps coming to my mind, but you're on mute. You look marvelous, but you're on mute.
Well, I wanted you all to read my lips because that's how talented you all are. So LS, she's very personable, as you guys can see, and she does care about people and, story from where they're at. So your current project with grandparents and getting their stories, if you want to elaborate a little bit on that, I think that would be lovely.
Yeah, it's called History According to Grandma or History According to Grandpa. And like you were talking earlier, you have this lifetime of things that you want to share with your grandchildren. Sometimes they're not ready to receive it, or your children aren't, but get it out in the book. Write down what you want them to know. And then later on, they're going to say, I am so glad that they put this in here for me so I could read it later, because it always happens. I discovered this with genealogy. People in their 20s and 30s, oh, I don't really have time. I don't need to know it. They get in their 40s and 50s, and it's like people start going away. Who's there to tell the stories? Who's there to pass on this knowledge and this experience and this life and the passion and the love and everything that goes with it? So that's where that comes in. So let's get that history written down to share with the generations so they can learn from us and what we've gone through.
It's great. I got your website up here so everybody can see it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So people can see you got a 6-week course called Finding Your Me. Very great.
Finding your purpose.
Yeah, so that's great. So you got to go to the website, connect with LS, find out about the book. It's great stuff, especially legacy. It's something you can pick up a book, share it with somebody. I know it's going to bless you for sure. So let me just remove that for now. And we're going to transition. So LS, I want you to stay on here because we have, this is the first time we have a special guests coming on that I met. Yeah. So this is real time. I want to give a shout out to Shay Marcus, the Holistic Health Expo, and the local chapter of Natural Awakenings Magazine, South Jersey edition. Shay had a networking event recently, and I attended, and I met 2 amazing people who are passionate about health and wellness. And they're going to come on for a couple minutes just to share about an event. And then you're going to learn about Joyce Knox, who put this all together, and her daughter Jennifer is going to be on with us as well. But we're going to have Joyce back as a guest, so you're going to learn more about Joyce. But Joyce, in essence, Joyce had this spiritual awareness growing up. It was learning about dreams, and so it's been this ongoing journey, which I can't even get into right now. But she worked at a health store for 7 years, and she started to have this growing awareness of the intuitive nature of health and wellness. So she's positioned herself there. She has an event that's getting over a couple hundred people. It's local. So I'm going to welcome Joyce and her daughter, Jennifer, joining us live. Hello, Joyce. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you for being here.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for the opportunity
to have you. Yeah. I would, and I know you've been listening to the show.
Yes.
Was there anything that jumped out at you that you feel like you want to share before we get into what
yes, it was very interesting hearing from the gentleman, and I perfectly agree. It's a way of life. Heroism isn't just, that, like he said, running into a burning building or something, that is, but your everyday behavior, helping someone across the street, feeding somebody somebody in need. I truly believe in that and try to live that every day.
So thank you. So let's in that note, let's bring Anthony back on with us so he can join us here as we get ready to close out the show. So
thank you.
Welcome back, Anthony. And let's go into Joyce. Let's talk about what you're doing, this exciting event that you're putting together here local. When I say local, it's in the South Jersey area. So please, love to learn more.
Okay. And can I, for a moment, acknowledge Juneteenth? I think LS mentioned it. Speaking about heroes, Juneteenth really, portrays the heroes and ancestors who lay down their lives for us, for all of us. So thank you for allowing me to say that. Yes, I just wanted to promote the upcoming event, which is June 25th. It's a health and wellness, and our theme this year, we've been doing this for 6 years, and our theme this year is living holistic living in action. Mm-hmm. And what we're trying to do this time is to actually show people what it means to be holistic. A lot of people think it's changing your diet, which that is, but we're addressing the whole person. We even have one of our exhibitors is going to do a workshop on chakras and all of that, because a lot of people don't know about their spiritual body. They focus on their physical body. So I think all of this is very important in living a, a whole holistic life. So that's what we're doing. We have quite a few vendors. We're going to have music. We're going to demonstrate what it means. Like we're going to have yoga, dancing, exercise, meditation, to mention a few. Even have somebody doing breath work. So I'm very excited about it, and we're expecting a large crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited. So just so you know, this is next Sunday. It starts at 12, correct?
Yes. This coming Sunday, June 25th, from 12 to 5 at the Crescent Shriners in West Hampton.
And I'm going to put the website up. But Jennifer, is there anything you want to share? You've been watching the show. You're supporting your mom here. What would you like to share?
Well, I enjoyed it. I'm glad I had the opportunity to, to sit and listen to the podcast. I like both speakers. I thought they were very enlightening, and I'm actually looking forward to following them and reading up more on their works and their books. Yeah, I'm looking very forward to it. The heroism, it kind of resonated with me because, fortunately or not, that's kind of how I live my life right now. And like you said, it has it's a double-sided sword. It has a good parts and bad, negative parts, not so nice parts. So so that really resonated with me because that's how I live my life. So but I really enjoyed this podcast. Thank you so much for having us. We really truly appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we're glad you're here. I'm going to put your website up here in a second. But so this is streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. It's on Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, through our partner E360 TV. I'll give them a shout out.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Helps me distribute this. And then tomorrow it'll be uploaded onto all podcast platforms. So you'll be able to go back and listen to it.
Wonderful.
And we just want to
thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And I just invite everybody, if you like this, follow at Austin J Haines. I do another show called Power of Pure Presence. It's out in nature. It's all about living in the moment. So I want to invite you to join that as well. But in the meantime, let's put up the website. I want to share Joyce and Jennifer's website here.
And while he's putting the website up, I want to remind everyone, if you go to austinhaines.com and you learn more about what Austin is doing, and he has two books. One is Flashpoint, and the other one soon to be released is Seeds of Infinitude. And so it's a beautiful book, a poetry book, and he's going to be doing some beautiful things and doing a tour with that. So we want to invite you to follow along in his journey.
Thank you so much, Dr. Andrea. And as a matter of fact, I'll be reading a poem at this event here, the Holistic Health and Wellness Fair.
Yes, we're looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's called Sinews of Community is the name of the poem. It's all about connection. Like Anthony everybody's talked about it. We've all layered it into the relationships always come up and how important they are and how important it is to cultivate healthy, strong relationships. We cannot be measured. So I'm excited to share that. But here's the website you can go to. It's connect2holistics.com. It's the word connect, 2 holistics.com. And you'll see it's June 25th, 12 to 5, Crescent Shriners, 700 Highland Drive, West Hampton, New Jersey, 08060. I just have a great feeling about it. It's going to be awesome. So make sure you find out more, get your ticket. And
you can also grab your tickets on Eventbrite.
Okay, so Eventbrite as well.
Grab your tickets online.
There you go. Lots of opportunities. So thank you so much. Anthony, you typed something in the chat when we were talking about, I just want you to share that. I thought that was great that we're talking about.
Maybe I'm weird too, Austin, but I mean, memento mori is a traditional phrase, in Latin. It's, remember you will die, so it's not strange, it's not strange to, look at, monuments to the dead and to our ancestors and say, this is a reminder, while I am here, while I'm given this gift of life and I still breathe, I still have this gift, I need to remember I'll die. So it'll keep me moving and keep me succeeding, and, in terms of just to Jennifer, I would say, the word adventure, we often in our modern times just describe it to positive things, But traditionally, the hero's journey, the adventure has bad sides too, but that's a part of the learning process. It's part of the adventure. So I've been through that too. I've had to incorporate the good and the bad into my life, and just recognize that it's all part of the adventure.
Yeah.
The good and the bad. So you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. So we'll go to just a final quick last sentence. So LS.
Oh boy. So going on that, remember you will die. Remember to number your days and count the number of blessings in them.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And then Joyce or Jennifer, a sentence.
You have everything within you to live a positive and peaceful and joyous and prosperous life.
Beautiful. Jennifer.
It's gratitude. Goes a long way. Gratitude.
Beautiful. Dr. Andrea. Mute. Unmute.
Can't hear.
A lot of you will say things and write things on a computer digitally in such a way that after you pass, people won't be able to retrieve it. I ask that you put it somewhere publicly, or at least put it somewhere on a hard drive so that a family member later on can go through your archives like we have from the people in the past, because what's written and what's said is never heard or never experienced if you don't share it.
So true.
Perfect. And I'm going to say this. Reach out to somebody and let them know you appreciate them. And especially if one of our guests here, I got news for you. They would love to hear from you, right? Talk about connection. Sometimes the most difficult thing to do is to say, hey, Joyce, what you said helped me. LS, when you said that, it made me think. We tend to go, we like isolation because we get it's hard, but there's so many mediums and you don't have to show your face. You could just send a quick message.
Right.
I didn't want to reveal myself, but I had to tell you this. That means so much to us, the people that are we're passionate, we're pouring our hearts out to reach you. Send just a quick message if in fact it had an impact on you. So I want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to again invite you to connect. My website's down at the bottom, austinhaines.com. We got a beautiful retreat coming up. Lots of great things. People are here ready to support and help you. So everyone have a great, we're ending a couple minutes early. So Dr. Andrea, you want to sing for us?
Bye.
Sure. Suddenly, things will never be the same. Your heart will take wing and you'll learn how to fly. 'Cause someone like Austin LS Joyce and her friend and me love you. We love you.
Beautiful. Congratulations.
Beautiful.
All right, everyone. Thanks for being here. We'll see you
Bye.
again
Have a
real
nice
soon.
evening.
Good
All
night,
right.
everybody.
Great meeting you all. Have a good night.
You
Be
too.
well.
Can I say one thing before we go?
Yep.
Okay. Your right hand on your left shoulder, left hand on your right shoulder, and squeeze.
Good night.
We heard you.
Good night.
Good night.